Peace, YouTube. This is Sean Young, also known as Supreme, with another episode of Adventures in Wholesaling. And on today's episode, guys, I have a very special guest. I have one of my most recent students who've actually closed his first deal with us. His name is Jeff Bates, and he's gonna tell us all about himself, tell us how he got that deal, and what it took to actually make that happen. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our star guest that we have on the line today, Jeff Bates. So Jeff, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and, tell us, give us just a little bit of background.
My name is Jeff Bates. Just recently got into to wholesaling. Pretty much been a great journey so far. Let me see, how long has it been? It actually will being involved with you has been since January, really. January 1 is when we got started.
Okay. So January 1, is that when you got started with real estate, or is that when you found me?
That's when when we actually got started. We were talking over Christmas, yep. So we got started actually that New Year's. But overall I've actually studying real estate since 2013 without actually no results. So I finally made up my mind 2018 May to get something going, and was trying to put out some banner signs, trying to get things going, trying to get the phone ringing, but I knew that I needed some help, so then I actually stumbled across your videos, and which I found all of your information honestly very helpful. And I remember emailing you for a script, some type of script, and you gave it right to me. You were very, right on point with getting back to me. So
Indeed,
that's definitely appreciated.
No problem at all. Glad you remembered that. Because I definitely remember how it was for me. And if I needed something, I would search all over the place trying to get it. So being able to provide something back to somebody that I know, if I was in your shoes, I would appreciate it. So that's why I made sure I got that back to you as promptly as I could. So thank you for that, remembering that, because I definitely did it for your sake as well.
Right on.
So Jeff, tell us a little bit about some of your hobbies. Like what are some of the things you're into outside of, real estate?
Outside of real estate, I love martial arts. I do a few of them. The main style that I do is capoeira chancola, which is the root form of capoeira.
Okay.
And outside from that, I do some Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, of course. And outside of martial arts, lately I've gotten serious on the bodybuilding thing. So I've been working out.
Indeed. Yeah, I noticed that every time we talk, not every time, but every other day I notice you're in the gym. So that's awesome. That takes dedication and, building a good physique. Like they say, strong mind, strong body, strong mind. So they go hand in hand. So definitely, that's definitely a great thing you're doing there. So let me ask you this, Jeff. What is it that, what made you feel like you needed a coach? Like, I know you said you stumbled across some of my videos on YouTube, but what is it that made you feel like, I'm going to invest some money and get a coach instead of trying to figure this out myself? What made you get a coach?
Sure. Well, I was pretty much on my own here. I'm not really connected to any REITs yet. So I'm pretty much on my own. And I knew that it's all the information in the world is out there for wholesaling. And it's out there. And I know that I can pretty much do it on my own, but it was just taking so long. I wanted that instruction that comes with having a mentor. And then particularly you, I don't know, it's just I have a pretty good judge of character. I can read a person like a book and just, by what they do and what they say. But you really seem like a stand-up guy to me. There was one of your videos that you collected the two Psalms, the 10,000 and the two. And
Indeed.
I don't know, you just seem like a stand-up guy. And then that getting back to me, when I asked you for something, or when you said that you would provide something, that the whole app. Just that one little thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, guys, without any further ado, what I'm going to move us through next is actually, Jeff, could you walk us through this first deal? Can you tell us, how did you get it? What were some of the obstacles you went through? How long did it take you to get it? Just kind of give us some background on that if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, the way that I found this deal was actually driving for dollars.
Now, when you say driving for dollars, did you go out there with a paper and pen and write down addresses, or did you use like some type of tools, or how did you drive for dollars?
Yes, definitely. Definitely with all the tools, the paper and pen, and then definitely was using an app. That app, DealMachine, which is honestly the best one out there. I started with the drive for dollars for a little bit, but DealMachine just was so easy to use, and DealMachine is definitely that.
I'd agree. DealMachine's a great app.
It is. It really is. It does so many things at once. It just simplifies the entire process instead of writing down all of the addresses, which is fine too. I still write them down. If I can't get the app out quick enough,
Gotcha.
Along, whatever.
Indeed.
But I will put it into the app because having the app is important because what it does is it creates a database of properties.
Absolutely.
In that database, being able to go back and look, especially with the pictures too, it just means everything. It makes everything easier instead of just having a list of numbers. You can actually go back and look at the house like, I remember.
Indeed. Is there anything that Deal app does like on your behalf that you found that was very helpful? Does it send out pictures for you, postcards?
Oh, definitely.
Skip trace?
The mailers or the postcards with the picture of the house, the properties on them. That definitely there is a highly effective tool.
Big plus. So Jeff, tell us, I know I kind of interrupted you a little bit, and I'm sorry if I cut you off there. I apologize. And to our audience out there, this is my first interview, so bear with me a little bit. This may be a little rough around the edges the first go around, but I appreciate Jeff being so gracious to share his time and his experience with us to help some of you guys, understand what it's like, what he went through, and to help you guys move through a deal as well. So, Jeff, you told us that you found this deal through using the method called driving for dollars. So can you kind of go from that point? So you went out, you saw the house, you took a picture, and then what happened?
Took a picture and got the information. This particular one, I hadn't yet sent out any picture postcards or whatever. But I did, once I rounded up the amount of properties that I want off of, like, say, 1 or 2 weeks of driving for dollars, I exported the list out to an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
And then I skip traced it. So then, skip tracing the list, I called through it, cold calling. And this particular seller, I asked him, would he consider an offer on the property? He definitely said yes. And then I threw out an amount, and he said yes to that amount.
That's awesome. Well, Jeff, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to back up just a tad bit, just so I can make sure that all of our viewers out there are understanding everything that you're saying. So,
Sure.
When you said you found the deal and you skip traced, how did you skip trace it? Was that available inside of the DealMachine app, or did you go outside of that app to skip trace these numbers? How did that work?
Well, the service that I used. Well, I was actually at first using the DealMachine, the skip tracing that is inside of the DealMachine app.
Okay.
Which is, just one off. I want to immediately know now the number to, this particular property owner. But for this one, I wanted to skip trace the entire list. So I used a service called batch skip tracing.
Okay.
And just went from there.
Got it. So they provided you some names, then you hit the phones and you just basically started cold calling through the list.
Yes, absolutely.
Got it.
Down the list, one by one. They provide actually a good, it's a good, great value.
Indeed.
About 10 numbers per entry.
Yeah, that's a great service, guys. So if you didn't hear that, Jeff, repeat that service that you used again to skip trace those.
Sure. The service is batchskiptracing.com.
Batchskiptracing.com, guys. Write that down. All throughout this video, I promise, if you listen throughout until the end, there's going to be lots of nuggets dropped for you guys, lots of tips, lots of good tools that you guys can use and take away from this video to help in your business as well. So Jeff, you found the deal. You skip traced some. I mean, excuse me. You went out and found some houses. You skip traced. You start calling on these numbers, and you finally get someone on the line who's saying, "Hey, I'm willing to sell." How long did that process take you from the time that you started driving for dollars until the time that you actually got a person who said, "I'm willing to sell my house"?
Well, started driving for dollars, say the very end of January, and honestly started calling pretty much at that same week. So from the time of getting him on the phone, which is like early February,
Okay.
we're actually getting the him saying yes was actually like 2 weeks. So it was only 2 weeks of calling, and then finally when he said yes, he had the agreement signed within another, say, 2 or 3 weeks. I had to mail him, and he's elderly, so it took a little bit to get it back.
Guys, are y'all hearing this out there? It took him 2 to 3 weeks to find this house, get it under contract, get a guy who was elderly, didn't even live in the same city. Where did the guy live at?
In Tennessee.
Listen, Jeff is in Milwaukee. He got a guy under contract that lives in Tennessee, an elderly gentleman. Not saying that the elderly are not as sharp as the young, but what we're saying is it was definitely a challenge for him. But look how quickly determination, got him through at least to get the deal under contract. So Jeff, how did that? Now that you found the guy, how did you actually get him to sign that contract since he doesn't live in your same state?
Right, that's a great question because with technology nowadays, there's a number of services we can just send agreements and sign them with our fingertips. With technology, but with him, he didn't have nor a computer, he had a flip phone, and he pretty much only answered it for numbers that he recognized.
Understood.
So it's amazing that he even answered my call to begin with. But what was the question? I'm sorry.
No problem. I was saying, so once he actually, how did you get him to sign the agreement since he lived in Tennessee?
Right. So good news, electronic means. So I actually I overnighted an agreement using the United States Postal Service.
Okay, there you go, guys. Another barrier that Jeff barreled straight through. We call it rhino. We call it rhino and through it because a rhino has those horns, that tough skin. He puts his head down and he barrels through all the obstacles, he or she, through all the obstacles that are placed in his way. So what Jeff is describing, guys, I really want you to be listening. The guy lives out of town. So for one, he can't just drive across town to have the guy sign a contract face to face. So he went to his next means, which is electronic email or a document signing service that will allow you to electronically sign documents. Unfortunately, that gentleman was just not savvy enough to want to jump on the computer to want to do that. So what did Jeff do? He kept using his brain and he used the next best thing, which was the U.S. Postal Service, the good old U.S. mail. And through using that method, he was able to get the gentleman to sign that contract, put it back in the mail by providing a stamp and a letter for the guy to put it back in the mail, to make it very easy for him so that he could send it back the next day. Jeff didn't mention that part, but I remember that part in the transaction. So I just wanted to add that in there as well. But I mean, it sounds like everything is going right, as it should go. So after you get the agreement back, did you put the house out for sale? Did you put some, what did you do to advertise that house?
Yes, that definitely brings us to definitely when I ramped up a whole other side of our business, which is disposition, which is selling the house.
Indeed.
So I pretty much had up until that time, which was only I was probably into wholesaling for a month. Didn't have really any buyers yet, so I had to, really put out a lot of action and, and come up with something quick, because now, it's game on once that agreement is signed.
Indeed.
So in order to find buyers, I actually put out some ads on Craigslist, which I was very consistent with that. And also I made up, say, 25 bandit signs or so, and I put them in a, say, 2 to 5 mile radius around the house. And I actually found my buyer from the bandit signs.
There you go, guys. A lot of people say bandit signs don't work. Listen, if that's what you say, then that's what it is. Bandit signs may not work in your market today, but tomorrow that same bandit sign might work. So you never know until you try it. So Jeff, did you have any issues with that bandit signs? Did code enforcement, anybody call you from those bandit signs, want to take you to jail or fine you or anything?
No, they didn't take me to jail. Not that time.
Hey, that's good. That's good. I'm glad nothing like that happened. Got it.
Take me to jail. I got a few calls off of them, but those few calls were the investors that were serious.
Got it.
Great. It's just like you told me. Put out the signs in the area, and then when those investors, when they wake up in the morning, they're going to see the signs, and they're going to start calling, and they did.
Indeed. So you put the sign out there. You're getting some callbacks. It's getting hot. Basically, you've got a few different investors that are interested, and then you finally get one that says, hey, let's move forward with this. I want to put down my earnest money deposit. I'm interested in the price that you're wanting to offer it for. First of all, what did you get the house under contract for?
So I got the house under contract for
$20,000, okay. And what did you advertise it for initially?
Initially, I think I had it. I was advertising it for 50.
Okay.
I started with the higher number, and kept testing. Those bandit signs said like 55, actually. I remember writing it.
Okay. So basically, you use the technique of, kind of starting high so that you would have some room to negotiate if, a buyer came in saying, hey, that's a little out of my range, but I can do more like this. So you basically were giving yourself some cushion room to kind of negotiate, but without being too ridiculously high in price. Was that the philosophy?
Right.
Got it. Okay.
Absolutely.
Got it.
Because we figured like the ARV was, say around 80,000. So
got it.
That's was a little room there.
Okay. And guys out there, ARV again is after repair value. So it's what the property is worth after it's been fixed up, repaired, and it can be put on the market and sold at that rate. So we've got a buyer. That buyer, tell us how that worked. What did the buyer do to let you know that they were interested? And what price did they offer you as well?
He was really trying to lowball, trying to get it for 22 and 23, and I couldn't do that. I was trying to stand more around like that 28, 29 mark, but eventually we settled at 25.
Did he send anybody out to take a look at the property, or did he take a look at the property? Okay.
He and his partner came out to look at the property, which was really cool.
And did you have the keys to that? Were you able to get the keys to let them in, or how'd you let them see the property?
Well, this one, it actually was really difficult getting the keys from the seller. First off, the property is vacant and boarded up.
Okay.
So I didn't really know if keys were even necessary. But it actually got around to the point where the keys weren't necessary, and I actually had to open up the boards and go in with the owner's permission, of course.
Indeed. Okay, so again, guys, another obstacle that Jeff, overcame and didn't let anything get in his way. The house is boarded up. The owner's out of town. There's no keys that are available, but he had the permission from the owner to enter the home. So Jeff went in, and I remember when he told me about it. He says, I'm going in with the flashlight and some combat equipment because I don't know what I'm gonna run into. So you guys got to consider that as well when you're going into boarded homes. There could be nails just sticking out, animals, rodents, snakes, whatever. So be mindful of that. And Jeff definitely was. He was definitely mindful of that when he spoke with me and went in there. Got it. So now that you've taken them by, they've seen the house, they made you an offer, and what was the final offer that you were able to settle on, and why? What made you want to settle on that price?
Great question. I started on the 25. 5,000 wasn't bad. The house was originally it hadn't been updated since the 70s, so it needed a lot of work.
Indeed.
But, it had pretty much good bones, as they said.
Mm-hmm.
The roof was pretty decent. The electrical paneling actually was decent. Things were decent, but everything else needed, to be updated. So, all new drywall, all the bathrooms needed to be switched out. And this particular house, it's one of the older houses in Milwaukee. So it had a lot of, negative space where the space wasn't being utilized, to its best, its highest and best ability. So it needed a lot of work. So I was willing to, cut into my fee a bit of what I wanted to make from it.
So 25 was a price that you felt was fair, just right. Based upon once you started even getting more knowledge yourself about the home and things that it may need. And plus, didn't your buyer that buyer that you took over there, didn't that buyer say he wanted to buy more properties from you if possible?
Absolutely. He was ready to take over 3 or 4 more.
Guys, the reason why I mentioned that is because, Jeff put the deal out and he got offers, but a lot of the offers were right around like the $23,000 mark. And he wanted definitely a bigger spread or a larger spread for his work on that, property. So what Jeff did was he just waited a little. He was just a little more patient. But what we were getting and what we were understanding is that the market always dictates what the property is worth. Your buyers will always let you know what it's worth. And it doesn't take long, guys. So, you have a property out there for 3 or 4 days and you're not getting any hits. There's a reason why. Or if you are getting hits within that time frame and people are telling you, hey, I know you're saying 55 or 50, but I can do more like, 20 or 22. If everyone is in that consistent realm, there's a reason why. So you're going to have to readjust your price very, very quickly. You don't want to make it appear as if you're just totally ignorant, but you got to be willing to negotiate with people who are wanting to negotiate with you. So this particular buyer that Jeff had, he was one that offered the most, and he was willing to take, quick action, and he put the word out that he wanted, more properties. So if Jeff could provide him with properties, he'd be more than happy to take them off of his hands. So Jeff went with this gentleman. I definitely remember the guy in the company the gentleman that he went with, and so Jeff, tell us what happened after you got the contract. You found a buyer. So you found the property, you got it under contract, you've got a buyer now, and you have a closing date of like a week away. I remember like the closing date was something like a week after you found a buyer. What happened in that week's time? Tell us what happened. I'll let you go into that.
That's a great question there, because definitely a whole lot happened. So, got the closing date, was ready to go, excited. Next thing you know, when they actually ran the title, it came back that there was the gentleman had a wife, and from the county's record at the time, only his name was on there.
Okay.
But when she dug into it, he had a wife which also had claim to the house, had claim to the property. Well, I had to find out who that was, if she was, if she's around, where she is.
And while you're saying that you had to find who that person was, Jeff, I want you to actually tell our listeners out there what you had to actually go through to figure that out, because that it wasn't like you just said, "Hey, who's the wife?" Let me Google it. Tell us what you actually went through to figure that out.
Right. And, the seller. You know, even though he was picking up the phone for me,
Mm-hmm.
there would be times where I just couldn't get through to him. So after from the time that the lady at the title company told me that someone else existed on the title, it was say maybe 4 days before I got him on the phone again. So in the meantime, I'm looking through all the Wisconsin records, all the trying to find out, who is this lady and where is she? I finally got her on the phone, or him on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
and he told me that was his wife, and that she was deceased, or is deceased rather, that she passed.
Indeed.
So that.
And you were going down to the county, you were going downtown. I mean, you were paying for records. I mean, this again, guys, this is what it takes to get your deal, to get not just one deal, but to continuously keep it going. But you can't get anything going without taking that first step. And Jeff, I'm telling you, he showed so much determination. I've seen a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of people who would have, folded at this stage. It was a roadblock after roadblock. I mean, it was a lay down. It almost appeared to be, but then there was roadblocks that came up that would have discouraged maybe the average person. So, Jeff didn't let that stop him. He got the house under contract. He's about to close. The closing attorney contacts him back and says, "Hey, listen, we can't close because there's someone else on the deed, and we've got to make sure that the seller actually has authorization to sell it to you." So the closing attorney is not going to, on your behalf, go figure all this stuff out. So you're going to have to figure it out and provide and bring this back, to them so that you can get the deal closed. Now, I'm telling you guys, Jeff was very diligent. I mean, he did everything that it took. And this wasn't a short process. This took weeks to happen. I mean, there was multiple trips back and forth to the county, getting this, getting that, speaking with relatives. I mean, how many relatives did you have to speak with to get this done?
Multiple. I spoke with, he and his wife, they had 4 children. So each of the 4 children had, they had their stake or their claim to the property that they inherited.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to get them all on board and get them to pretty much sign a whole other set of agreements or affidavits saying that they had no interest in the property. And so had to get in contact with all 4 of them, and that took say maybe 2 weeks. I got one of the heirs is right in town with me. She was actually pretty cool. She's the one that gave me the death certificate that I needed. Had to get her on board with that, but that didn't take that long. Got in touch with another one of the heirs to the property, which he lives in Indianapolis. I know a whole another state. Well, I mean, not that far away, but it's it's not just around the corner. Mm-hmm. And then 2 other heirs, and one of them didn't want to let the house go because it's where they grew up in. So,
Wow. You talk about some challenges. I mean, you talk about some challenges, and you got to go through 4 different relatives outside from the gentleman who sold you the house. You've got to make sure they're all on board, willing to sell it. And then you run into one that says, "Hey, you know what? I have some sentimental ties to this house. I'm not sure if I want to let it go." But eventually, she did sign, of course, right? Got it.
I was able to warm her up and win her over, actually.
Wow, man! I tell you, that's a lot of determination, and again, a lot of rhinoing, through those challenges, making sure that you're getting done what needs to be done. How did you find a closing attorney?
Well, I went with the title company that the buyer wanted to go through for this one.
Okay.
Which is actually a great question. That was actually a great lesson. It would have been a little easier if I would have had my own title company ready to go. But to my surprise, with this particular deal, even though that the buyer actually selected the title company,
mm-hmm.
to my surprise, throughout the entire deal, I learned that pretty much I was the one in control.
Absolutely.
And that I had to pull all the different links, everything together, and make it happen. And I had to be the boots on the ground doing stuff, doing the actions. Otherwise, it wouldn't have gotten closed.
Absolutely.
So the buyers were, they were so, grateful and happy of all the different things that I was doing to make sure that they got their house.
Indeed. Indeed. I mean, it showed a great level of professionalism. I mean, you did the things that are necessary to set yourself up for future business with this, with your buyers that you use, because they understood that you ran into challenges. I mean, they know they were speaking with the closing attorney as well. They had to have the closing date delayed just as well, and they had a relationship with the closing attorney. The lady that we were speaking with, her name was Tammy. And
Right.
she was great. She was very helpful. Pretty much on top of things. Sometimes we of course, had to nudge her. I won't say we, but Jeff. I only helped out a couple of times just to make sure that things were where they needed to be. But that's what I was here for. But I really let Jeff steamhead that process so that he would understand it. Because again, guys, I can give you fish or I can teach you how to fish. What do you want? So
That's
what
right.
I did was I even though I wanted to just say, I just wanted to give Jeff some fish because, he was right there and the fish might have fallen off. And I was like, man, you almost had it. Let me just give you this fish. The fact that I didn't do that, he will thank me a year from now because I taught him how to fish for himself. That's why he chose me as a mentor. That's why he signed up for my course and really believed in my ability to do that. And I took it very seriously. So I tried to make sure that I strived to make sure that I provided Jeff with everything that he needed to be able to reduplicate this process and understand it and have the confidence to be able to handle it from point A to point Z. So with that being
Right.
said, Jeff, did once the closing attorney had everything set and you guys had a real closing date, the family members were all on board. What happened the day of closing with the closing attorney and the seller, excuse me, and the buyer in regards to closing fees?
That's another great question. So the at the last minute, the buyers, pretty much the buyers didn't want to pay the closing costs, and which was just it blew my mind at the because that it was just out of my thinking because the agreements that we already both signed already says one, it says that that there's two agreements. One, the first agreement with the seller says that the buyer will pay the closing costs, and it says it, and then I verbally assured that the seller would.
And that buyer is being
So
you. You're that buyer from that A
I'm
to
the
B
buyer
contract. Exactly. Indeed.
on
Yes.
that agreement, and it's also what I promised the seller. So on the closing date, he
So
actually gave me
hold on
closing
one second, Jeff. 1 second, because I just want to make sure that the audience is also clear. What Jeff is saying is from A to B, the seller sold him the house, and Jeff said, "I will pay all closing costs." And then Jeff assigned his agreement to his end buyer and assigned the agreement that he had with the seller. So now the end buyer takes over that responsibility of paying the closing costs as well, and it's all written in there very closely. How for some reason that seller, I mean that buyer and the closing attorney missed that all the way up until the day of closing. I mean,
right.
so go ahead.
Which is that was a whole lesson in itself. Definitely have to know your agreements, know your contract,
And
know
be
what you're
confident in
signing,
what they say.
what you know what you're signing, and knowing what you're having someone else sign.
Absolutely.
You have to know it in order to stand on it if need be. In this case, we needed to stand on it. Say, hey, we already have an agreement that says the buyer will pay all the closing costs. So.
And all you did was assign it to your buyer. So that means again they took over everything that the agreement stated. And once we pointed that out to the attorney, it was no issues. They took care of that 10 minutes, and it was no issue. Right? Is that how it went?
Right.
Okay.
It did.
Right.
Well, it took a couple hours to figure it out, but that check was there waiting on me. So.
Indeed. So, guys, we have walked through this deal. Jeff has told us about how he found the deal, how he marketed for the deal, how he got the deal under contract, the obstacles he went through once he had it under contract, how he found his buyer, the obstacles that he went through after he had his buyer to get it closed. And now that you had that deal closed, how much did you make on that first deal? What was that check worth?
That check was worth everything because it took my mind from, damn, this happened. I believe it can happen until I did it.
Absolutely.
And that's definitely like a mental shift. So now again and again.
Because you know that it can be done. Absolutely. Now that you know it can be done, it's no mystery any longer. It's not like, man, I wonder, I've heard about these people and I see all these people, but can I do it? You know, you know that you can do it. So tell us, Jeff, how much did you make on your first check?
On my first check, well, the entire assignment fee was $5,000.
Awesome. Awesome.
Huh?
Awesome. That is awesome. I mean, guys, Jeff got 5,000 on his first check. Now, there's operating expenses and costs and marketing things that go into that you will account for. But I mean, $5,000 for you basically pull that out of thin air. That's how I like to say this. Of course, there's work that's put into it, but now that you have figured out how to grow this $5,000, you will know how to replant and redo it again and again and again. Would you agree?
Definitely, I concur.
Got you. So Jeff, what's some advice that you have for some people out there trying to get their first deal? I mean, what are some things that you would say to them?
Well, one, you can do it. Really, you can do it. It just takes some focus. It takes commitment to yourself. It takes commitment to you have to know what your why is, why you're doing everything, why you do these actions, and put into it. Regardless of whatever naysayers you have to just focus.
And Jeff has some pretty strong whys out there, guys. He has a brand new son. I mean, he's really has some strong whys. So that's what I'm telling you guys. You have to have a why, because if you don't have a why, it's not going to be your desire to just want to get into this is not going to be enough to make you keep going through those tough times. But Jeff's why was so strong, and we revisited that throughout the process. But his whys were very strong, and he was determined. He had a determined idea, and he saw it through. He let nothing stop him, and that's the idea. And I mean, that's the mindset that you guys got to have out there. The glass has always got to be half full. I mean, there's going to be challenges, guys, but you have to just know that if you just keep it going, you will get a deal. And we're not just in this to get a deal. You don't go fishing to just get a fish one day, right? You want to figure out a way to gather up a couple of fish if you can while you're out there, so that you don't have to go back every single day. Or you might want to hire somebody to go out and fish for you. Now that you're an expert in fishing yourself, you can teach them that process, which is what I would suggest. So now that you've got your first deal in the books, are you done with the business, or are you going to try to get some more deals? I mean, what you got going?
Really time to go hard, but they say it's time to go hard and ramp things up, and to really, the first deal, it taught me so much, and it taught me, looking back on it now, I can actually see what things that I can edit and make things stronger, how much more energy I could put in per day. But definitely, this is a lifestyle.
Indeed.
That I'm going to use to make my why happen, which is, for me, it definitely is financial freedom. I mean, really the ability to get up and to do what I want, and to do what I want for my family, and to not worry about anything.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we're in this for, guys, to be able to have that freedom of our time, financial freedom, just to be able to be free to be creative in our own lives. I mean, that's such a big plus. And it's like Jeff said, I mean, it doesn't stop here. We keep it pushing. Like the late, great Nipsey Hussle, the marathon continues. So it doesn't stop here. We don't stop at one success. We gather successes so that we get momentum, and we keep that momentum going so that it becomes contagious to those around us, and we can share that with others, share our successes with others. But no one will follow you, or no one can be helped by you until you actually help yourself. And I really want to commend Jeff for helping himself, because, I mean, he was under some tough conditions, guys. It was the winter time in Milwaukee when we started talking. I mean, he was dealing with snow. I mean, he went through some challenges. And my hat's off to him for barreling through those.
Oh, thank you. Definitely a lot of challenges. The winter time in Wisconsin here, losing a job. I wanted to actually, it was my goal to get a deal.
Wow.
So I had no choice but to keep following day in and day out until it happened. So.
Indeed. And let me tell you guys something. Jeff just said something. He wanted to get rid of his job, but his job got rid of him. Sometimes that's how things happen in life, guys. But again, Jeff didn't lay down. He didn't fold. He didn't just give in and cave in. He didn't call me and say, Sean, you know what? I lost my job. I don't think I can do this. I've got a brand new son. My son is in the background while I'm trying to make calls. I mean, that's not what he did at all. I mean, he made no excuses. He had tough days. And I did what I was supposed to do, which was be there to help him through those tough days, just as like my mentors did for me. And my mentors are Joe McCall, Tom Crow, Sean Terry. I've got a number of mentors that I use to get me through tough times as well. I mean, including family and friends. So you definitely want to make sure that you are building a peer group that can motivate you through these tough times, and building a group that's all about the business that you're in. You got to surround yourself with like-minded people and people who are sharper than yourself. How else are you going to learn? So keep these things in mind. And like I say, I really want to say Jeff is going to go far in our industry and in our business. I look forward to seeing big things from him a year from now. I mean, I'm sure Jeff will be so far away from where he is today, and I would love to bring him back on the show at that point. So, I mean, even in the interim, so that you guys can see his progress, because I'm telling you, he has the determination to make it. 95% of the people do not make it in wholesaling or in real estate investing for one reason. It's because they quit. They don't keep it going. They start and then stop. Start, stop. Start, stop. You cannot do that. In this business, you have to have laser sharp focus. You have to keep it going until you hit your goals. Don't let anything get in the way. You have to almost be obsessed with your business. Before you go to sleep at night, listen to some podcasts. Listen to my channel. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. By the way, hit the like button, subscribe, share these videos so that we can help other people. Like my video says, help me, help you, help us all. So please, guys, please know that I'm in this to help. This video that I'm doing with Jeff, I mean, that's why I said, hey, Jeff, can we do an interview? I think your momentum and I think your energy and some of the challenges you went through can really, resonate with our audience out there and help people who are in the same position, get through those tough times and get to their first deal as well. So I definitely want to thank you. I thank you for taking your time, Jeff. I thank you for having the belief in me as a coach. And, I really see big things for your future. You're the type of guy that won't let anything stop you, and I know that you'll do well.
All right. Thank you so much, Sean.
Indeed,
Thank you
indeed.
for having me on the channel. Thank you all the audience for listening.
So one final thing before I let you go, Jeff. Do you have any good books or any good motivational pieces that you might want to leave with our audience that they can maybe read or take a look at, or just any type of motivational thing you could leave them with?
Like the books.
Yeah, any good books that you've maybe read lately, or just anything that's been motivational to you. Like you might have seen something that motivated you. Just anything that has been of motivation that you think will help our audience.
Definitely the book. I have to finish it, but The Rhinoceros Success.
Indeed.
It's all about just moving straight ahead.
Great book.
Another book that really changed the way I thought, which I read a few years ago, which was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Indeed.
After reading that book, that definitely wasn't the same.
Indeed. I read the book and I wasn't the same afterwards either.
Right.
Definitely. Those are some great books. Definitely some great books. And again, Jeff, I know that you've got the little one in the background that you're waiting to get to. We took a little longer than expected with technical difficulties at the beginning. So I'm going to let you get off this line. And I really, again, I want to thank you. I want to thank you. I have no doubts that you'll do well. And if you guys have any questions for Jeff, feel free to send those in the comment, put those down in the comment section, and I'm sure that he'll be taking a look at this video and he can respond directly to those. Or if you have any questions for me, I'm here for you as well. So with that being said, guys, again, this is Sean Young, also known as Supreme, with another episode of Adventures in Wholesaling. And again, help me, help you, help us all. Peace.